Welcome to Shots from the Foul Line podcast, a metaphorical nod to both the game of basketball and the unpredictable nature of life. Join your hosts Vic and Dustin as they dive into their unique experiences, ideas, and philosophies while discussing a range of sports topics and storylines. Shots from the Foul Line reflects their journeys of taking life shots, one conversation at a time.
All right, what's going on, Vic? How you doing?
This is episode number 2. I'm doing great, really good.
Let's talk about this because, again, you're rocking your Ohio State gear. You've already got your hats. Look at you. Were you able to pre-order that? Was there somebody out there who knew you guys were going to win, was selling that early?
No, actually, I ordered the hat as soon as the game was over. And
Nice.
It was available, so I ordered it.
That's awesome. So, that's what we're going to do for the first 2 minutes here. I want to give you some time to celebrate 10 years since you guys' last championship game. You guys brought home the title. I thought we kind of mentioned in the last episode, but there's a lot of talk about the coach not doing his job. You guys lose to Michigan. You guys came through at the end there, and to your point, you guys didn't get in your own way.
Well, think of it as 10 long years. When you're a Buckeye fan and you're a coach there, you're always under pressure anyway. So the main thing about it is, yes, you do want to beat Michigan. That's one of the big goals that you want to do. But, championship makes you a little bit better. And, people are talking about, because they didn't beat Michigan, there was a little chatter out there about, well, they didn't beat them, but should it be a asterisk by Ohio State championship? Why? Why should it be an asterisk by their title when they didn't win they didn't win the division conference, they didn't play in the conference championship game, but they played the run that they went on. They played 4 of the toughest teams in a row, and I don't think that there's probably a school out there that could have played as far as what they went through. I mean, it was a gauntlet. I mean, think about it. They played Tennessee, then turn around out of Tennessee. They played Oregon, then they had to play Texas, and then they had to play Notre Dame. So all the games, the first 3 were pretty much decided in the first quarter, first half. And, Notre Dame game was it was decided early, but Notre Dame tried to come back at the end, but it didn't happen. So, I've been happy. Buckeye Nation can take a sigh of relief and take a deep breath. And I will say this: leave Ryan Day alone. This man has been under so much pressure. Like I said last episode, if you get rid of Ryan Day, who are you going to find? There's not a coach out there that has been under the pressure that he's under. This man, his wife said under so much pressure, not only is it for him, but you also his wife and his kids. Imagine what they're going through.
No, for sure. I think these big-time programs, they have expectations from day one, especially with recruiting and how the transfer portal works now and how you have to pay players to really play in your program. It's a whole different world in terms of media coverage, the money that's out there, the money that's involved. And, if you sidestep one way, one game, you're on the chopping block. And that's what's interesting to me about college football is that typically you have to kind of go undefeated, usually to even get into the championship game, right? Sure. Now, obviously, this is the first year with the larger playoff system. I think based off of everybody's criticism, they may not go that route the same way again next year. But I liked it a lot, and I think that, the way they set it up, you win your conference, you get a bye. The best teams get the byes. I thought it was really cool to watch. I really enjoyed it. And I think when you talk about, Ohio State's, criticism of not winning the conference but winning the championship, you look at any other sport and you don't have to be undefeated or to win a specific regular quote-unquote season game to be considered the best, right? And I think that's why players themselves get criticized when they don't show up in the playoffs because that's the only thing that really matters. You got to get there, first of all, I get it. But once you're there, you have to show up, and you guys showed up for sure.
Right, the thing of it is now is when you win championships, your success can also be one of your biggest failures because now You got these schools who are coming after some Ohio State elite players and offering them this money to try to get them to transfer. I mean, they're kids. Of course they want to make the money. But when you're throwing them big dollars out there, some of them are going to take it. But, I mean, that's too bad. It used to be only in the pros that they had that problem. But now you have that in college where, okay, you won a championship, so I tell you, why don't you come play? Well, I'm going to offer you this amount of money. Why don't you come and play at my school next year? And the pressure is on these kids to, hey, they want to make the money that they can make. So, I mean, you can't blame them, but I'll say this, where's the loyalty?
No, I totally agree, and it is an interesting dynamic that they're in now, right? Because before it was you're there for the program, you're typically staying there 4 or 5 years if you redshirt, right? And yeah, you win a national championship, amazing. But the whole idea is to build your resume, your skills, all those things to get to the next level, so you can get paid. And now suddenly, to your point. Well, I already got paid, and I won a national title. Where's my incentive to come back to the school? For like you said, now all the pressure's on us. So if we have any failures during the season, it's going to be just this giant spotlight on us. Whereas, I could go to maybe not a top 5 school. I don't know what Miami's. I know we were talking about Miami. They're not ranked top 5, so the pressure's not the same. But I'm getting paid the same, and I've already got a ring. And I'm already, kind of stacking my chips in a sense before I even get to the NFL. So it is a whole different world. I think we can dive into that a little bit later about, being parents and what we would like our own kids to do in those situations. But yeah, it's interesting. It's interesting what kind of conversations their parents need to have with them as well. I mean, yeah, they're adults, but they don't know better.
I mean, they don't. I mean, like you said, you mentioned something earlier in the last episode was some of them. Some of them they have no money. They come from poverty and they want to, hey, I want to take care of my family. I mean, I can't fault them for that. I get that. But I think that if they're going to pay them the way they're paying them, then why bother offering scholarships? Because if you're going to pay them the money, then they can pay for their own education.
Yeah, and I think originally that was their way around paying players, right, is – we recruit you, we want you to play for our team so that we can win and we can make money, not you as a player, but on the back end, you get a free education. So, yeah, absolutely, that was their way of basically bringing in top talent and convincing the parents, well, like, hey, at least your kid's going to get to go to school for free, they get free housing, free food, all those things. That was their way of paying them, right? And, now what is the point of that? What's the point of giving somebody a scholarship if you can just cut them a 7-figure check the next day?
That's ridiculous. I mean, it is. I mean, you think about some of the guys who, before them. So the portal, you undo the portal, do it like they used to do before. Allow you to transfer, but make you sit out a year still. Instead of, well, okay, say, I'm at University of Washington or something. I didn't like the coach left, so I'm going to leave too. Then say if you go to another school and the coach leaves, you have the right, you can leave again. So it's out of hand, and it wasn't what the portal was intended for when they first opened it. But now it's like a free for all. I mean, I'm gonna go play. Okay, I'm gonna go to ASU. Well, no, I don't like the coach, so I'm gonna go play. I'm gonna go back. I'm gonna go to Penn State, go somewhere, anywhere. But these players, they have the run, and if you try to set them down, I'm leaving. I don't want to stay here anymore. So it's kind of got the coach handcuffed because they're gone.
For sure, and I think the sad part about that is education is now the last thing any of these people are worried about or going for, right? I mean, I can't imagine hopping around schools in terms of how that could really – it's not going to help your education. It's not going to help it make it easier for you to be in class, to go through these classes and to be comfortable in those settings. Because again, you're uprooting yourself, going to a completely different environment, different people, different teachers, all these things. And yeah, we expect that as adults. If we have to do that for a job, that's fine. But these are still kids, and education was originally still the whole point of all this, right? And I think to your point, it's about the money at this point. I haven't looked at statistics, but I can only imagine it's a very small percentage of really probably any sport, but any D1 athlete who goes to the professional level gets a degree. It's got to be like smallest percentage, like single digits for sure. It's because why would I? I've got the money. I think I'm smart enough. I'm a 22-year-old kid. I know everything, right?
They get the money, and then, they blow the money. Then they get older. Like you said, 22, hey, I got all the money I need. No, you don't, because when you're going to buy all these lavish things and, you want to take care of your family, and maybe by the time you're 30, you have none left. Because my mom always told me, you always have to have a backup plan. So, yeah, you can go to school for sports, but you can't play sports forever, because what if you get hurt? But I think the smart thing to do is what some of the kids are doing now is they're getting insurance on themselves in case they get hurt. That's the smart thing to do. I mean, if you're an athlete, because, you're out there, you can get hurt your first play, and you may never play again. So, the insurance thing, that's pretty smart. So I'll take those that are doing that. That's fantastic.
Yeah, that's definitely one smart approach to take. I think to your point, again, even something like an insurance policy is going to run out eventually. And if I'm 22 years old, I'm not thinking about my mortality. I'm not thinking about I need to make sure I can cover a cost of living for the next 60 to 70 years. That's a long time. And if the way I'm spending it now will be broken 8 years, then what am I going to do, right?
I was watching this Netflix special, and they had this show. I don't know if you saw it. It's called Broke. Most guys who are professional athletes, out of the league, they are broke by the time in 6 years they have no money.
No, it's insane. It's just like the people who win the lottery. File for bankruptcy 99% of the time if they take the cash lump sum, right? To your point, it's because they're not familiar with how to manage their money. They got a lot of people that they're trying to either support or entertain. Just the level of, financial education in our school system alone is awful. But for people who are actually having potentially millions of dollars handed to them, it's still not existent, which is a sad thing.
So what are we going to do? That's the thing of it is, the more you give them, the more they want. And you got, like I said, and the thing about it is, sports-wise, they coming after them like sharks.
Here's one thing I try to put it on for most scenarios is it still goes back on the parents. And I get it. Not every parent is capable. Maybe they're working 2 jobs. Everybody's situation is different. But if you're trying to raise somebody specifically to be an athlete and you're not backing that up with some really basic financial competency and some grounding of what you want to be, how long, like having those real conversations, right? Because we've had that with our 18-year-old. We started that when he started playing football in the beginning of high school. It's like, all right, so you want to play in the NFL, let's talk about what that looks like. What's the average, to your point, what's the average length of time somebody actually lasts in the NFL? It's like less than 4 years. And that's if you get there. And if you actually break down what percentage of players make it to the next level, it is insanely small. It's like 0.5%. If you look at all the college players, how many of them actually have a career in the NFL? It is so small, right? So, yeah, having those conversations with them early on, I just think is super critical because we already know our educational system is basic at best. I think that's a polite way to say it.
We're not high as far as that goes.
Yeah, we're not ranked high across the globe at all.
We are not. You look at some of the people overseas, like the kids in China, those kids, they're smart because they spend a lot of time studying. They spend more time studying than they do playing video games and all the other certain. If they're on the computer, they're actually doing homework. So that's one thing that you can kind of applaud them on that. They want them to be smart, and they are very smart. And then you come over here and you see our kids. The first thing, dude, you can't even get the kids to go play outside. That's when you see kids playing outside. I'll see them playing in my neighborhood. I want to go stop and take a picture. Are you guys real?
No, for sure. To your point, though, it is a cultural thing. There are cultures, and I won't be specific, but if you're not a doctor, you're a failure in their mind. I mean, that's just the way it is. You're going to become a doctor.
Right.
You can become a dentist. You can be a doctor. You can be anything that applies to having that title, because we know you're going to be successful, right? No matter what industry it's in, you're a doctor of some sort, you're going to have a good living. Yeah, we don't have that in America, right? In America, I still think we've fixate too much on being a professional athlete. That's an easy one. Recently, it's becoming a professional gamer, becoming a YouTuber. These easy ways, apparently, most of these people do it, TikTokers, whatever it is, to be a millionaire. And we don't have that grounding of, okay, well, here's all the work you need to do to understand how to be successful in any facet of life. And these kids really try to get away with being as, I'll say it, lazy as possible.
I mean, even as far as want to be a millionaire, if you become a millionaire early age, young age, whatever, go be it. But the thing of it is, be smart with your money, because you always have to think, if you don't be smart, it ain't going to last forever. Because if you go out there, say if you got $3 million and you want to go out there, I'm going to go buy me a Bugatti. You done spent a big chunk of it right there. Well, I got to buy me a house. Then you got to go buy your jewelry. And, by the time that comes around, man, you're like, whoa, where'd all my money go? We think as far as the athletes, and you can't just say athletes. There's other aspects of it too. People, they want it what they can get now, but they don't think about on the back end, or if they have kids, what are they gonna do? What am I gonna do? I don't have any money left. Then you back to square one, trying to figure out what you're gonna do for the rest of your life, and you've already had a great life. But like me and you, we do our thing, we work our jobs, whatever. We have children, and thing of it is, we do what we do for our family, provide for the family, make sure everything is good, and make sure they're comfortable. But I'm saying, when you're throwing all this money at these college kids at an early age, some of them don't have no children, they don't know what to do with that money, man. All they want to do is go bam, blow it, and all of a sudden, I have no money, I have no education. And then they're sitting there trying to figure out what are they going to do. So, I'll say this really quick. My mom pushed us. She did. She pushed us to make sure we knew what we wanted to do, where we were going to go and do, and have, respect people. And as far as the aspect go in life, be a productive citizen, what you do. And I have nothing against it. I love the way I was raised. Like I said, I wouldn't change it for the world. But a lot of things, even the athletes and everything, they don't respect no one. They, some of them don't. Then there's some that do. But there's some after they make it, you can't tell me what to do. Or you get an agent, you're fired. Why? Because you don't talk to me like that. They get that arrogance about them. I'm the one making the money. You're not. That's the arrogance that they get.
I will play devil's advocate a little bit on that end. They are, depending on the person and the world they live in, they're the ones that are breaking their backs at the same time, right? They're the ones that are risking themselves out there on the field or whatever it is. So with that, if you put in that much work for that much time, you are going to build up this mentality of, I earned this, you didn't earn it.
Right.
This is my blood, sweat, and tears. But to your point, it does build in that kind of inherent ego, or just, thought process of, hey, I did all these things, who are you to kind of tell me what I should be doing with it? But I also think that's because, as we mentioned earlier, they don't have those people in their lives when they're younger as mentors or as advisors. So they're comfortable and confident with dealing with other people and being able to learn why they're there, why they're important, and how to kind of manage that throughout their life. Because, if I've just handed $7 million in college and now I'm a millionaire and now I make it to the pros, and I haven't had to build that skill set of understanding people and the business and how it functions and how to work in it, I can come off as very abrasive, just like how they handle media sometimes. Like, media is there. If media wasn't there, you wouldn't be getting paid like this.
No.
Just like with advertising, right? Like, that's where all the money comes from.
My thing is, I was just on top of what you said. Yeah, they're the ones that's doing it. They're the ones putting their body out on the line. But and the media, like you said, when they come in, sometimes they can be a little abrasive, a little intrusive. But that's you're the athlete. That's your job. They're the reporters. That's their job. I mean, do they cross the line sometimes? Yeah, they do. Do they twist the truth sometimes? They do. But if you put the story out there and or if you say if you're talking to one of your friends, number one, you got to always pay attention to what's around you because somebody's always recording. And you don't know, you and your teammates can be in the locker room, y'all can be talking about something. You don't know somebody's recording, and all of a sudden you got a leak video or tape out there, something, somebody hearing what you guys are saying, then you got to figure out, who did this?
I mean, every time you hear it, good sources say, who are these good sources? These are clearly people, either teammates, friends, or family members.
Exactly.
And it's like, well, they're not good sources because they're not good to this person. They're good sources because they're right next to them. You're hustling to figure out all the goods that they can go sell. So, yeah, to your point, that's another thing they need to learn real quick is who can they trust?
Exactly.
And that's not an easy thing to learn at all. All right, so I want to dive a little bit into this because I know you're a huge college football fan. Your team just won a national championship. Hurrah! Go Buckeyes! But we're also gearing up for the Super Bowl. And, we've got 4 teams left, 2 big games to go. I've got my team I'm rooting for.
Who you got?
I got my team I'm absolutely not rooting for, which is clearly the Chiefs. At this point, I'm going for the Bills. I really want to see Josh Allen win. But I want to kind of talk through, like, what do you think is more entertaining? Because I think a lot of people kind of debate this of, oh, well, college sports are way better. College football is way more entertaining. I'd rather watch that. And other people think professional sports, professional football is the most entertaining show there is. So what are your thoughts?
Well, I mean, do I think that college football, to me, I like college football, entertaining, because number one, you have the bands, you have all the fanfare, all that stuff. And to me, the games are more exciting. NFL, there's more on the line, a lot more on the line. And they have to go out and they perform on each side. But the thing about this, college it's good, but it's not as fun as it used to be because now college football is also turning into a business. Where they used to be when you go there, you have fun, you lose, okay, that's good, we'll come back next week. Now these kids have so much pressure that they have to win. And you don't win, well, you know what, then you didn't do this, you didn't do that. Where in the pros, I don't know, man, I have my thing about the pros. It used to be good, but now you kind of see it's like the same teams there. I mean, yeah, they're good, and to your fact, who I'm pulling for, I'm actually pulling for the Buffalo Bills also because, well, I'll say this, my wife went to the University of Wyoming. That's where that's Wyoming's claim to fame is Josh Allen.
Nice.
So I mean, the thing of it is that and plus he's a story that Buffalo needs. If there's one team that ever needs a Super Bowl, it's Buffalo.
4, dude.
I mean, that's think about it. They played the Cowboys 4. They got slapped around 4 times. So they need, and I think he probably should win the MVP, but I'm thinking that Lamar Jackson is probably going to win it.
Yeah, so the MVP race will be interesting. We'll see how that pans out. Most young listeners, my son definitely wouldn't probably know this, but yeah, Buffalo losing 4 times in a row is just insane. Getting there is huge, but at that level, if you can't pull out a single win, that haunts the entire franchise forever.
Well, no, I can give you something too. The Cleveland Browns, they were there, 3 straight years? They just happened to run into Denver.
Yeah.
At the Elway. Like I said, being from Ohio, I saw that, bro. Elway killed them, man. The Broncos every time. And they're some of the best teams the Browns had. Come up against Denver, and you already know. See, back then, think about it, John Elway was the boogeyman back then.
Right. Couldn't get him. Yeah, so it's interesting for me because, when I was in college, I did enjoy going to some college football games. you have the atmosphere, you have the student section, you get the kind of hype around that. Then also it is obviously a big party thing for the college kids as well. But, as I mentioned before, out west we don't have these, historically huge programs, right? I think that's probably where, for me, NFL is just way more entertaining. Not only that, so we don't have the history, but watching college, although it's even worse now to your point of the transfer portal, but even then it's all right, so you've got a guy that's there for 2-3 years maybe at tops, right? Where for me, I'm, you and I are both huge 49er fans, but it's I want us to hold on to our talent for as long as possible. I want us to go years with these guys, and it's not always the case, but a big chunk of the team you usually can keep on 5-6 seasons in a row, right? And I love that idea of building on the previous season and just bringing in a little bit of this piece here, bringing in this talent here. Whereas college, to me, it is a freaking turnstile, man. Just in and out, in and out, in and out. And then you've got the dispersion of talent, right? I mean, if Ohio State went up against, U of A, for example, it's a joke. It's a complete blowout. So obviously there's only going to be certain games you're really going to want to be drawn to where the talent level is as fair as possible. But even then, when you look at the playoff system and how that works, was it TCU, Boise State, one of those teams? I think it's TCU, right? They go undefeated, but they didn't play any big teams. This was a couple of years ago, and then they get into the championship game and just get blown.
They got
out.
plowed. That was last year.
Against Georgia?
No. It was 2 years ago.
Okay.
2 years ago.
So there's always that concern too, right? Yeah. And sure, you can see that in NFL, and I will mention the 49ers blew out the Broncos 55-10 in the Super Bowl years ago. So it happens, but I feel like in college sports it is a much more frequent thing, and it is way harder for them to gauge the quality of the teams across so many teams, right? There are just so many colleges with teams that – this team looks amazing against who they played against, but they didn't play against similar opponents, or they never got to play against each other. In NFL, for the most part, you have a really good idea who's gonna win, who's gonna be there at the end at least, who's gonna be in the playoffs. And now there are some surprises.
But the thing about college is their schedules are actually made 4 or 5 years in advance before some of these kids even get there. And so, the biggest problem that I always hear is, well, they ain't played nobody. Well, actually, they're playing whoever's on their schedule. The kids don't make up the schedule. The schedules are already made ahead of time. So, so if you get, Alabama's playing some small school, that's not the kids' fault. The school, like I said, the schedules are already made, And so, my wife was talking about this last night. Alabama, Ohio State, and now Oregon, all those teams, they're like rooting for the Yankees or the Dodgers in baseball. They hate them because they win.
Well, now there's another reason they hate those teams. It's also because they spend all the money.
Yeah.
So that's why, that's why I couldn't stand the Yankees growing up, is because they just bought everybody. It's not like they built programs, which is, you used to see that more in college, right? You'd be able to see a team really kind of get built up. You see that in the NFL now, though. You've seen some teams really change their strategy on building teams and being successful. The Lions, Washington, which is insane.
But no, I said, what I'm saying is not that they spend the money, it's because, I'm saying, but people compare them because they win. So the thing of it is, if you don't want them to win, then you beat them. I mean, you can beat them. You can beat them because not last year, but the year before, the Dodgers had a good record, and they got put out by the Padres. So I'm saying, so you can beat those teams. You just have to, strategize, try to market your money.
And it's a challenge, right? Especially when we were talking about college football, where Bama's paying how many millions of dollars for their roster now, right? That's really hard to compete against. It's possible. Arizona State came through out of nowhere this year. Diamondbacks a couple years ago, they made a huge run in the playoffs, which was incredible, and they had a pretty low budget as well. But it makes it way more challenging to
look at Cleveland. Look at the Indians. Look at the Guardians last year.
Yeah,
they did. They are like a low market team, and look how far. Look, they have one of the best records. But I'm saying is, you don't. Some people think, well, you got to have, you do have to have the top tier talent. And I will give you a case in point. Cavaliers this year, they still have a low payroll. They have the best record in the NBA. They have 38-6, something like that. So I'm saying, you have a team with a big payroll, and they're way down. So I'm saying Cleveland is a small market. Also, the most expensive player they have is Donovan Mitchell. It's like Donovan Mitchell and everybody else. But I'm saying one thing about them, they play as a team.
So that's one thing I love about basketball. And there's this really good book, and I believe it was by Bill Simmons. And he literally talks about how teams have built these incredible championship teams. And it's not by what we've seen the last 15 years, which is, oh, he is deemed the best player. I'm going to go pay him $50 million, whatever it is. He'll come on my team, and now we're just going to win, right? It does not really work that way. And, again, easy to hate on top people like LeBron, but that's why I always was rooting against Miami, because all you guys did is just pay these guys all this money and hope that they're going to somehow bring your city a championship. But if you look back at those teams, like the Pistons was one of them. The Pistons knew who they needed in each role, and every person knew their role. Right. If you're just paying a bunch of high-talent people, they all think they have the same role, which is to be the star or to take the shot. You have to have these other players who know, hey, I'm here to get a rebound. Dennis Rodman, he knew his role to a T. I'm going to beat up the other team as much as I can. I'm going to be the enforcer. I'm going to get rebounds, and I'm going to block shots. But now we just have these teams just trying to pay these guys. It's like, oh, well, I'll just bring this, top guy over here. That's what the Dodgers did, and the Dodgers were able to pull off a championship this year doing it. But how many years have they been just getting the top guy? Same thing with the Yankees. It's like, well, he's the best player. We'll just go get him, and we'll be fine.
I have one for you. Thought about this. Who was one of the best two-way professional athletes that you ever saw?
On offense and defense?
No.
Or multiple sports?
Multiple sports.
I still think Bo Jackson. If Bo Jackson did not get hurt, which was one of the gnarliest injuries.
Right.
Okay, so here's what's funny about that is I am old enough to have played Tecmo Super Bowl, where if you had Bo Jackson, you're scoring every single time. Right. These kids don't even know what we're talking about. But he's running like 99 speed and everybody else is like 50. He's just going back. Like you do like circles around these guys, right? No, Bo Jackson was incredible. Watching him play, there's a line drive to the outfield I don't think it was a home run catch or that he caught, but it's like at the wall and he ran up the wall. I mean, just this guy was incredible. Yeah, I mean, Deion had the personality, right? So obviously he probably comes in more people's minds because and he played a baseball game and an NFL game in the same day, right? So yeah, Deion was incredible, super talented, but Bo Jackson, man, he was dominant.
That's who I thought about.
Yeah.
I mean, that's one person, and that's what, and I will say this, I can't take the credit for that. My wife, she said, babe, she goes, Bo Jackson was really, she said, Bo Jackson was good. I said, that's the advantage of when you're married to somebody who likes sports. I'm saying we talk sports.
Yeah.
We talk sports a lot. So, I mean, that's the advantage of, you ain't got one who's sitting there, you watching sports, and she's sitting there reading a book or, falling asleep while the game's on. Is the game almost over?
So the only thing that'll put my wife to sleep is golf. And I'll be honest, even me, if I'm watching some golf, I'll be dozing, man. I love playing golf, but even watching some of it, I'm like,
she asked me, she said, I can't stand watching. I love watching golf.
Yeah.
How can you watch golf? That's like the most boringest sport that they hear. I said, people don't like golf because it's a individual sport. I said, and in golf it's you. You ain't got teammates. It's all about what you doing to win that money. So you ain't got somebody on this side, well, if I have a bad game, you got somebody going to step in for you. It ain't going to happen.
Not just that, but you got Mother Nature. I mean, you're fighting the elements, whatever it is, heat, wind, rain, even if it's a perfect sunny day.
Right.
you're still going against, every single thing out there. Every little break that's possible could go the wrong way out there. And to your point, it's just you. Like,
Right.
how do I get around this to make sure that I still have a chance to win?
Right. I mean, that's one thing about living here. You can play golf pretty much a lot. I mean, look at the weather today. It's not bad, but it's a good golf weather.
Oh, that's what I told my wife this morning. We went to my son's football game. This is great golf weather. That's gorgeous. No wind, light breeze, low 60s. It's sunny out. It's gorgeous.
But I'll say this: I've done different things as far as coaching sports, watching sports. So the one thing that I've always got a kick out of is I've always got a kick out of going to like Special Olympic stuff. I like going to that because I like watching those kids play or do something, because they may not, as far as they may not think, they don't care. They just want to play. And that's what I think that we've lost that as far as the game goes, as far as regular sports, because that was a time when they just wanted to play and just have fun. But now they can't play like that anymore because, well, if I don't play good, then I may not get more NIL money. I mean, that's just the way it is now. I mean, or in the pros, well, I mean, I got to make this, or I'm not going to make my bonus. So I'm just saying that I've seen it. I've coached Special Olympics, and yeah, it's different. But I'm saying it's just seeing the joy on their face, bro. It's unbelievable.
And I want to dive into this because this is where I was going to kind of jump on my soapbox anyways today. But watching kids play something, it doesn't have to be sports really, right? But watching them do something for the pure joy of it, that's why we all started, right? I mean, that's why I started playing sports, not because I thought, I can make $1 million playing this sport in the future. I enjoyed it. You're playing it with your friends. You're playing it with your siblings. Your father, your mom, whoever it is, maybe an uncle is helping you out there. It's bonding time. It's family time. It's fun. You're outside. You're outdoors. You're doing things. You're staying active. So, yeah, doing things for the pure joy of it is where kids should be. Their mindset should be. And it is a sad thing when you go to these youth sports, and I'll share my experience in a minute, but when you see these parents who have created a different dynamic other than that, right? It's these kids who have horrible attitudes. They don't know what sportsmanship is. They're almost like entitled already, and it's like, you're 10 years old. What are you entitled to, buddy? But I'll share this experience with you. I'll be really curious to kind of get your experience as well. But so my son had his second flag football game. He just started flag football. My wife and I are pretty adamant we're not going to let him play tackle. But I was like, flag football, it's fun. It's a lot of running, so that's good for him. And unfortunately, I had to work last week, so I missed his first game. So I'm there for the second game. And I'm watching this as this coach. First of all, I don't think I've ever seen a coach who doesn't know how to communicate. Like, really soft-spoken, couldn't hear him, didn't even know all the kids' names, trying to sub them out. They couldn't really hear what he was saying. My son probably played maybe 2.5 minutes in like a 40-minute game.
The whole game?
Yeah.
Wow.
And it wasn't just him. There's like 4 kids that he barely played, right? And this is not a competitive league. There's a reason why we choose these leagues, because this is for them to have fun, to meet some new kids, to try something new, to get some exercise, right? It sure as hell is not about winning at all costs. And this coach proceeded to have his son and this other boy pretty much play the whole game. His son played quarterback, and every single offensive play ran through one of those two. Wow. So they would either hand it off to each other and then try to throw to the other one, which they did like 6 interceptions trying to do that. You got kids wide open on the left, and he's chucking it down the field into triple coverage, right? So super frustrating. And then just watching the attitude of these two kids, right? Just horrible sportsmanship, throwing tantrums, pulling flags, throwing it on the ground. I mean, just... it's insane to me to see these kids at this age and these parents not only allow it, but really just promote it. And it was infuriating. So I'm putting my son in the transfer portal. I'm calling the league. I'm getting him on a different team because, at the end of the day, I could have been one of those parents who just went off and, did his thing. But what's the point of doing that, especially in front of the kids? So I'm going to send a very well-instructed, well-written message
letter
to the coach.
Nice letter.
And I'm going to call the league and get him out of there. But just seeing that was just so disheartening because he really wanted to play football. He was excited about this. And then I go out there and I'm like, this is a joke, man. Like, and again, the league mandate is to do everybody has equal playing time until the last 2 minutes of the game. I'm like, dude, this is just terrible. And what actually infuriated me the most is I volunteered to coach, and I didn't get picked, which is the first time that's ever happened. I'm like, okay, so I guess a lot of dads wanted to coach football, but now he's stuck with this guy and this team. It's crazy. So let me hear some of your experiences with that, because obviously you've had kids, you've gone through that stuff, you've coached.
Well,
before.
so I coached my daughter when she was in middle school, and so softball, and so prior to that she had played before, and these coaches that she had, man, just kind of similar to what you're saying. These coaches they were awful, man. They didn't take the time to practice, show them hitting and stuff like that. So my daughter, I encouraged her to go out for the middle school team. And at first, and I told her, I said, you know what? I said, I'll work with you. So we did it before school started with the tryouts. She made the team. And so I was the assistant. They got the head coach of the team. This guy was phenomenal. I mean, he could do this, show him how to do this. So we took to my daughter's team prior year, they didn't do very well. So we took the same group of girls, but me and him, different coaches. So, I work with the pitcher and stuff like that, work with them. He'd do everything, first baseman, he'd do all that stuff. So we get all together. And so my daughter she had, like I said, she had played earlier, and I mean, man, you would thought that these guys didn't know what they were doing. So anyway, long story short, they planned my daughter the year and a half that I coached her. She turned around so much better, bro. So they played this team, and I will say the name of this team, Magma Ranch. This team, when we played them, they hadn't lost a game in like 3 years. So regular season, we had a regular season game. People came to that school was packed. I mean, you couldn't get another person around there. We beat them the regular season. I mean, it was close. We beat them like 16-14. So we went to the tournament, played them again, championship, and they had the confidence then. They knew that they can beat this team. So they beat them. We beat them 14-1 in the championship game, and it was like same players. Same players, different coaches. So I'm saying, go with what you're saying. If you use your skills that you have. That's that story. The other story, quick, is coaching boys, Little League baseball. And so the dad was telling me that, hey, my son is a better third baseman. And so we're all-star coaches. And so he said, no, my son's playing third base. So, we did practice, gave him a shot at third. I mean, this kid, like he had his glove on backwards. But anyway, he couldn't stop a beach ball. So anyway, we decided, hey, you know what, I'm going to put him in the outfield, put him in center field. And we went through the all-star thing, and this kid made first team all tournament, playing in the outfield. So I mean, I'm not saying as far as coaches go, but if you got parents who want to volunteer to coach, and parents who just sitting back in the shadows, and you ain't never volunteered, then let the coaches do it on the field, because you sitting on the sidelines trying to coach your kids, that's not always a good thing. I mean, the dad did thank me at the end. He said, you know what, I'm glad you did move my son. He said, I've never seen my son happier. I mean, sort of the long story short is, make it still where it's fun, where the kids want to play. Because if you guys are not having fun, they're not going to perform for you. I don't care what you do.
For sure, and I think this mentality of trying to win, again, just going back to this game today, is I couldn't tell you what the final score was, but we got our butts kicked. I mean, we threw like 6 interceptions. Like, I think half of them were pick sixes. It was a mess, right? And yet you still, even then, you choose not to make sure everybody's playing. It's just absurd to me, right? Like you're sending a clear message to everybody, including your kids, that the most important thing to do is to be the person who's on the field all the time and tries to, I guess, win more than anything else. But, yeah, it's pretty crazy. And to your point, those parents who love to provide that feedback from the sideline, it's like, hey, man, I'm giving my time for free here. I volunteered. I'll take your feedback. But at the end of the day, also be mindful that I am the coach, and because I did the same thing. I coached my son's baseball team, my daughter's baseball team, and yeah, it's, hey, if you're that confident in your skills and your ability to be a coach, volunteer. Like, it's, take your shot at it.
Bro, when I was playing baseball, like Little League baseball, I would always know. Like my mom when she was there, I would always know where my mom was because I'm trying to concentrate on the game, and I'd hear that voice. And so one particular game, she said, when I was grooving, I had already had 10 strikeouts, bro. You can't hit what you can't see. I was always tell them, I'm throwing a fastball. If you can hit it, you can get it, but you can't. So, yeah, got on first and second. So I had 2 strikes, and my mom yells out. I still hear this voice. My mom goes, knock him out, Vic. And I hit the guy in the head. She said, no, I didn't mean that way. But I'm just saying it. But it was fun, though. It was fun then because the guy, he was actually one of my friends. So he told me, he said, dude, why are you trying to kill me? But I said, that's what fun sports were. Today it's not, because you got all these kids who are going to all these camps and traveling teams, and they don't really get a chance to enjoy it because it's like you're turning your kids into little mini pros before they able to enjoy it, and sometimes they end up quitting because they're not having fun anymore. It's the pressure of winning. You want to win so bad that you want some of these kids to fulfill your dream that you didn't do. But when they say, well, Dad, I don't want to play anymore, why? Well, no, you're going to play. I done spent $400 for sending you to this camp. You're going to play. And I'm saying at that point, it's about money. And like you said, it's about money. And the fun is gone. So, this day and time, yeah, you want the kids, you still want them to have fun, man. That's the whole thing about it with me. I'm a family guy, you're a family man, and you always want what's best for your kids. But at the same time, you want to see the other kids have a fair chance too. So it's all about having fun in sports. And the thing of it is today, a lot of them they're not having fun anymore.
100%. I think it's not necessarily even always the money. It's that legacy you mentioned. Like, oh, well, I didn't get to do this, so I'm going to make sure my kid does. Mm-hmm. And that's not this is one of very many reasons why I really enjoy Shaq. But he didn't want his kids playing basketball. He's like, I already did that. Like, you don't need to have anything to do with basketball if you don't want to. Like, those parents who forced it on them, like, well, I played this, or I didn't get to play this, or my career is cut short, so I want to make sure you do all these things.
I like what Shaq does. And the thing is, he said, they said, Dad, we're rich. He said, no, I'm rich. I made this money. I'm the one that's rich. I put my body on the line for this. And you hold them to that. You hold them accountability for that. That's the whole thing about it is when you make it and you give your kids everything, as they get to be an adult, they have no incentive to do anything because you've already given it to them.
They don't appreciate the hard work that it took to get there because they didn't have to put it in. No, I totally get that. All right, well, now that I'm off my soapbox about kids and sports and these crazy parents and coaches, real fast, again, congratulations on championship number, we at 9?
9.
9 championships.
9.
Pretty awesome. So what's funny is I was looking into that too, and legitimately, we don't count those like Princeton championships or any of those, right? From like the 1800s where they somehow have more championships. Like, we're looking at Alabama still being the forefront of championships, right?
I think Alabama has 12, something like that, and Ohio State has 9.
You guys going to catch them anytime soon?
Hope so. That's the goal. Like I said, at the end of the day, you want championships, true. But, like I said, Ohio State, it's a different animal, man. It is. To take a job, even Nick Saban said that these coaches today, when you're at high-profile schools, you are under so much pressure to win now. And so when you're shelling out that money, hey, you got this big roster, we done paid for it, you better give me something. So, I think people say, well, if Ryan Day didn't win the championship, he probably would have been fired. I think that if he got there this year and didn't win it, I don't think he would have been fired because like I said, it would probably take a deep run in the playoffs. But anyway, what he did was, hey, he won it. So he ain't got to worry about that. That's the monkey off his back. Now they can't say, well, he's won this many games, but he's never won a championship. But as they say, the run they went on, the teams they beat in a row, nobody in college has ever done that, ever, and probably never will. Because you think, but these are young guys playing like a pro schedule. You got to get your 4 weeks, got a little space in between, but you playing, they end up playing, 17 games, something like that, 16, 17 games? They never played that many games before.
Yeah, no, it's impressive. All right, well, we'll look forward to next season. Hopefully they can go back-to-back championships. We'll see how they handle all these transfer portal changes and all that money that's out there. I do want to leave us with a shout-out to your team, so we'll roll that tape in a second. But any last comments, Vic? Again, this is your episode to celebrate the amazing job your team did.
Well, I mean, we're still happy. Everybody's still, I'm seeing a lot of Buckeye fans still riding around. So, all the Buckeye Nation, I hope that you would take a time, maybe get a chance to run across this podcast, listen to it, because I don't live there anymore. I'm a fan from Arizona, and I will always be a fan, raised a Buckeye fan. And as they say, once you born and bred a Buckeye, you'll always be one.
Love that. Awesome. Well, thanks you all for tuning in. This was our second episode. So super excited to talk with you again, Vic. I think we're just going to continue to have a blast with this. Never really know what the topic's going to turn into, but I love that sports is at the center of everything we do.
I got to go for next week. We're going to say that for next week.
Awesome. I love it. All right. Well, on that note, everybody have a wonderful afternoon, and thanks for tuning in.